Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Massive thanks to the authors, Roxi2Star and ThatOneZed for allowing me to adapt their awesome story. Follow the link in the description to check out more of their works. Today we will be listening to the 23rd part of What If Deku Had Both One for All and All for One. If you enjoy, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing down below, and don't forget to hit that bell icon so you get notified when videos go live. Now, without further ado, let's get into the video. Chapter 46, The Rest of the Summer. Chapter by Roxi2Star. You wanna go to the mall? Izuku asked into his cell phone. He had Okako on speaker as he lay on his stomach on the bed. In front of him, his notebook opened as he finished up some summer homework. Yeah, I got a little extra money from my summer job. I need to buy a few things for the move into the dorms. But I don't wanna go alone. Okako whined into the receiver. Ida-kun and Shinsu-kun are both busy. And I can only go on Sundays, so Todoroki-kun is out. That only leaves me with you. Izuku chuckled. Well, a few things, he said. First, the last time I went to a mall Shigaraki jumped me. Second, I have plans with Kikin on Sunday. I mean, fair point about the hostage thing, but Deku-kun, I really don't wanna have to go alone. You can bring Bakugo-kun. And maybe Midoriya-san or All Might can go with us. He hummed, flipping to a new page in his textbook. I'll talk to Dad and Kikin. If I offer up Dad coming with, he'll be on board, but Kikin and I were gonna train, he hummed, but I bet I can talk him into it. She cried into the phone. Wah, thank you Deku-kun. I owe you my life. I gotta get new bed sheets anyway. Anyway, let me let you go. I'll call you about Sunday, okay? Okie dokie. See you later Deku-kun. Bye Okako. He hit the end call button on his phone before rolling out of bed. He stood up and stretched his arms above his head, his shirt riding up. He fixed it before padding into the living room. Dad and Toshinori both sat on the couch. The news was on, but neither of them were paying attention. Toshinori was typing away at his laptop on the coffee table while Dad was reading through some of his quirk notes on some of the kids in his year at school. Izuku walked to lean on the back of the couch. Dad had his reading glasses on. He lifted them up and let them push his hair back. What's up kiddo? Was just talking to Okako. She wants to go to the mall on Sunday. Could you take us? He asked. I'm gonna drag Kikin with us. Toshinori sat up. Will you be okay being in the mall? What are the odds Shigaraki will attack me in the mall twice? Izuku asked, crossing his arms. He means mentally, Dad said. We don't think you'll be attacked, but that is always on the table, we just don't want you to. He trailed off, looking for the right words that could be more painful than you think. That was a good point. We can just go to a different mall? There's one in the North District, right? I bet a whole different mall would help me avoid it altogether. Dad shrugged. Okay. If you're sure, I'll take you kids to the mall on Sunday. Izuku grinned and hugged his father around the neck from behind. Thanks Dad, he said before letting go and running back to his room. Not at all seeing the soft smile his father gave him as he ran away. Sunday came. Convincing Kikin wasn't hard. Izuku knew how to push his buttons in just the right way. Now, he, Kikin, Okako, and Dad stood outside the mall. Dad had just parked the car. Okay. I won't hang around. I got a few errands to run. Call me if you need me, okay? Izuku waved. We will. See you later Dad. With that, his father walked off. Izuku turned to his friends. So, what do you want to do first Okako? She smiled. I have a few stores I gotta stop in. She looked between them. What about you guys? Just one, Izuku said. Kikin shoved his hands into his pockets. I don't wanna fucking be here. He paused. But I gotta get some workout gear. Izuku laughed. I think this'll be fun, he said, looking around the mall. Most malls looked alike, but he found his mind barely went back to that encounter with Shigaraki. It was a different place. He felt good. A little retail therapy. They shopped. They didn't buy much, but just being out and about in the mall was nice. Soon, Izuku found himself carrying both of their shopping bags for them as they made their way around the mall. Okako stopped suddenly, her eyes wide. I have a great idea. She pointed towards a small kiosk. A piercing place. Let's all get our ears pierced. What? Kikin asked. Why the hell would I do that? Okako grabbed him and tugged him along. Look at this 3-pack. She showed them 3 matching stud earrings. Pink, orange, and green. It has our colors. Pretty please? Round face, We're hero students. I think it sounds like fun, Izuku said with a smile. And yet, but it's just a simple ear piercing. I don't think UA is against just one in the lobe of the ear. They're pretty loose on that kind of stuff. Kirishima-kun dyes his hair bright red. Plus you never wear your tie, Izuku smirked. Kikin, are you afraid of getting your ears pierced? That pushed him over. Fuck no. He grabbed Okako and Izuku by the wrists and dragged them to the empty kiosk. Oi! Extra, the three of us are getting our ears pierced. He let go of them and slapped money on the counter, the three stupid matchy ones. Okako practically vibrated in excitement. The piercer sighed, who wants to go first? I will, Izuku said and handed the bags to Okako. He plopped himself in the chair. Do we have to sign anything or? The worker sighed, I think. Does it matter? Probably. But the idea of Izuku getting to do something kind of daring after being chaperoned all the time was kind of fun. Nope. Pierce away. The worker loaded up the piercing gun. Izuku waited patiently as they marked his ears, and made sure it was even. They pierced one ear, then the other. Izuku smiled all the while. It didn't hurt one bit. He hopped off the chair and let Okako go up. She did just as well, wincing in mild pain. Finally, it was Kikin. He argued with the worker, making sure his marks were perfectly even, threatening to blow them up or take the gun from them. Finally, they pierced him. Kikin took it like a champ, got their cleaning supplies, and dragged them off. That fucking hurt. Izuku laughed. I dunno Kikin, I thought it kinda tickled. He stopped and pulled his phone out. See mirror. He grabbed his friends and squished Kikin between him and Okako's selfie. He snapped a picture. Wah! So cute. Deku-kun, send that to me. Okako cried. I'll drop it in the squad group chat. That way the others can see too. He pulled it up and sent the picture in. Shinsu replied at once. Then Ida not long after, though they had very different reactions. Ida-kun said he's very disappointed in us. Okako giggled. That's how you know we did something right. Kikin was looking at the piercing in his phone camera. I do look fucking cool. Yes, you do, Kikin. Izuku cooed. There you kids are, Dad called. He walked up to them, fixing the hat on his head. How was your? He stopped, looking at all of their ears. Izuku. Is this your teenage rebellion? He asked, pointing at the little green studs in his ears. He smiled. Yet. I'm a rebel now. Yet, kiddo. Fight the power. Izuku grinned at himself in the mirror. He fixed the dark blue yukata. It had to be hemmed so he wasn't tripping on it, but the dark color suited him. Dad stood in the doorway of the bedroom smiling softly. He wasn't wearing a yukata, as Izuku had sort of stolen his. That fits you like a glove. He looked down at it, pulling on the fabric. Does it really? Dad smiled. You know, we could have bought you a new one. I like yours, he said honestly. I'm excited. I haven't been to a festival in a few years. I know it's not the one back home, but I'm really looking forward to this. Come on then, we'll be late if we don't leave now. He followed his father out of the room and into the apartment. Toshinori was standing there, also in casual clothes, ready to go. Izuku, you look great, he said with a large smile. Might I take a picture to commemorate the occasion? He asked. Izuku grinned and pulled Dad in with him. Yet. Want me to take it? You do take very good selfies. Ah, to be young, Toshinori said and handed Izuku his cell phone. The three of them crowded together as Izuku snapped the picture. Perfect, Toshinori made it into his phone's wallpaper. Come on boys, I believe Izuku's squad is waiting for us. The happy family made their way from the apartment to the street festival a little ways away. It wasn't far, and it was held in a swanky part of town. They reached the agreed meeting point. They were the last to arrive. Ida, Shinsu, Okako, and Shoto stood together in a small cluster. Ida was wearing a grey printed yukata, Okako's soft pink that looked a little small for her. Shinsu had a simple black one that looked like it had been patched, and Shoto wore a brand new elegant white one. Shoto looked so good. His hair in that cute half up half down style. It was like he was trying to drive Izuku wild. Hey! Izuku called as he ran up to his friends. You guys look great. Thanks. Okako grinned, her pink ear piercing glittering in the lantern light. Shoto quickly intertwined their fingers. You look adorable, Bun. I like you in blue. He looked down at it. Thanks. It's Dad's old one. But I really like it. Dad and Toshinori approached finally. Hey kids, Dad said, you all having good summers so far? It's been excellent. Ida said my family and I just returned from vacation in Hawaii. Tensei was a menace, however. He practically ran me over with his wheelchair no less than 3 times. Shinso laughed loudly at that. Mine's been fine, thank you for asking Midoriya-san. Been keeping up with those quirk workouts you have me doing. That's great. Well, we're gonna go off and have our very boring adult date, Dad said, grabbing Toshinori by the hand. We're never far though. You kids have fun. Meet back here at 10, okay Aizu? Aizoku nodded. See ya Dad. He waved as his parents left, giggling together like schoolgirls. Aizoku turned to the squad. Okay, what should we do first? He asked them. I saw that fish game. Though I dunno, are pets allowed at UA? I'm fine with anything, Shoto said. This is my first festival so I have no expectations. I just wanna see the fireworks, Shinso said. Eat some fried food. Umachi. Okako cried. Ida, ever the leader, stepped right up. Don't worry, he said. I have a plan. We'll hit the games, stop by the temple to make wishes, then get food, and while armed with food we shall find optimal spots for firework watching. Hell yeah Ida-kun! Okako cried, grabbing his arm. Yeah, show us a good time, Shinso said, lazily grabbing his other go forth hero ingenium. Ida, looking very pleased, led the way. The games were fun. They didn't win many prizes, but they had a great time. Aizoku spent most of his time pressed up against Shoto, soaking up his cool right side. They stood behind the group. Ida, Okako, and Shinso were playing the same game. Aizoku was content to watch. He leaned his head into Shoto's shoulder when he heard a child cry. Ah! Daa'ad stop! Ice hit Aizoku's veins. He turned on the spot, one for all itching below the surface of his skin. He spotted a small child being carried by their father. A little boy. The dad had him on his shoulders and was bouncing around making the kid shake. It was perfectly innocent. "Ah daddy," the kid cried, laughing all the while. "Dad stoop. Dad please dad." He screamed stop. He felt sick as his body let out another scream of sheer pain. "Dad stop. It hurts." It's supposed to Aizoku. That's how I know this is working. "Dad please." "I can't." "It's Aizoku." Shoto asked. "You're shaking. What's wrong?" Aizoku snapped out of it, forcing the feelings down. Huh? "Oh. Nothing. Just got a little cold leaning on your cool side I guess." He laughed. It even sounded fake to him. Shoto frowned. "Okay," he said but didn't push. Aizoku was grateful for that. After the game stalls, they made the walk out to the temple. There was a small setup for wish-making. The 5 of them all grabbed a paper and began to write their wishes. "What ya gonna wish for, Rika?" Shinso asked. She gasped, smacking him. "Shinso-kun, I can't tell you. If you tell someone your wish it won't come true." "I dunno," Shinso began and bit the cap off his marker. He wrote something down quickly. "I think wishes are just ways of putting what we want out into the universe. Ways to motivate ourselves," he recapped the marker. "By saying it, you make it real." Shoto nodded and grabbed a piece of paper and quickly wrote his wish down. "I wish to marry Aizoku someday," he said at once. "Ah!" Aizoku cried, his face flushing. Shoto. "Man, I was just gonna wish we'll find good fireworks seats. Should I wish for something like that too?" "No need. One wish for our wedding should be enough," Shoto said and handed him the marker. Shinso sighed. "Man, you two are cheesy." Ida waved his arm dramatically. "I find their relationship to be admirable. The love you two have for each other pushes you both forward. Though I must insist you wait until after high school before marriage. Though I do believe you'll make it." "What about you, Ida-kun?" Okako asked, writing down her own wish. "What are you going to wish for?" She held the pen out to him. Ida blushed darkly. "To be a worthy hero, of course." Though, Aizoku watched him write and distinctly saw Okako's name on his paper. Aizoku was the last one to write down a wish. He thought for a long moment before he smiled. He had the perfect wish. One that was in his control. One that would always be good. He wrote it down and the 5 of them grabbed their wishes and wrapped them in a perfect line on the same branch. 5 wishes, bundled together all hoping to come true. I wish to be happy. Toshinori leaned against the wall, scraping the ice cream from the bottom of the plastic cup. Man, this is good. I don't eat ice cream much. Sometimes it can upset my insides if I eat too much of it. Glad you got the small one then, Hisashi said, having just finished his own. He looked up at Toshinori, a small bit of ice cream sticking to the corner of his lip. It was the cutest thing in the world. Hisashi was adorable. Shapely jaw, pale skin, glittering eyes, and those sweet freckles. The added mess of ice cream, it was too much for one old man to take. He reached up a skeletal hand and wiped it away. Sometimes, it bothered him how handsome Hisashi was in comparison to his true form. If only he could still go into his muscle form. Be big and strong and solid for Hisashi. You had some on your face. Since his skin was so pale when he blushed, it bloomed over his whole face. He smiled softly. Thanks, he said, leaning closer. Your hands are cold. Sorry. Hisashi shook his head. Cold hands, warm heart, right? God damn it, Toshinori loved this man. He swooped down and stole a kiss. He could do that now. Whenever he wanted. Hisashi kissed back. It was heaven. All the nerves on Toshinori's body lit up. Kissing Hisashi was downright addicting. Soft lips, sweet taste. Perfection. Then. A flash. Toshinori pulled back. A paparazzi was taking their picture. Luckily, they were being discreet. And no one had noticed them yet. While he was less recognizable in this form, that would change as people got used to this just being his face. Come on, we should try and slip away. Yeah, Hisashi mumbled. Idea. Wanna go to the car? The kids will be there for a while. For about 10 seconds Toshinori didn't understand. Then, all at once the image of a very naked, very needy Hisashi in his lap in the back seat of the truck crashed into his mind. Hisashi. Is that a no? He blushed, shaking his head. It is very much so not a no. Hisashi smirked and tugged him back through the crowd to where they'd parked. Now armed with food, the 5 of them made their way to find a decent spot to watch the display. They found one in the park area. It was crowded, but there was a large wall fencing the area. It was about waist height and thick enough to sit on. Normally, Ida said, I wouldn't condone sitting on a wall like this, but I think for the festival they won't mind. Sick, my feet hurt, Shinso said and sat down at once. Ida and Okako sat right next to him. Though, with the people already on the wall, that only left room for one more person. Shinso frowned. Oh man, do you want one of us to switch? Izuku shook his head. Nah, here Xiao-chan, you sit. Xiaodo frowned. I want to be close to you. I'll stand in front of you. You can rest your head on me. Izuku said. Before Xiaodo could argue, he grabbed his waist and set him up on the wall next to the others. You're pretty light. He teased before standing in front of Xiaodo. He slid between his legs and grabbed his arms and wrapped them around his waist. How's that? Xiaodo relaxed into the cuddly position at once. Oh. Oh yes. I don't mind this at all. The other 3 all rolled their eyes, but they turned their attention towards the sky. So, have you seen fireworks before, Todoroki-kun? Okako asked. Not close like this. Sometimes I can see them from my house, he said, leaning his chin into Izuku's fluff of hair. So this will be nice. She smiled and patted his shoulder. They're kinda loud. Thank you for the warning, Xiaodo said earnestly. I fucking love fireworks, Shinso said. My mom used to take me to see them when I was little. Just coming to the festivals are free, and if it's free it's for me. Preach, Shinso-kun. Okako cried and they high-fived over Ida's head. Ida himself chuckled. I too enjoy fireworks. Tensei used to put me on his shoulders so I could see better. Though I did feel bad for the people behind us. But, now that I'm older, I find I'm never annoyed when a child is on their parents' shoulders in front of me. It probably helps that you're the tallest guy in class after Xiaoji, Izuku said honestly. All 3 of you have no idea how lucky you are to be tall. Okako and I know the true pains of being short. He paused. Maybe I'll hit a growth spurt. My dad is like 180 centimeters. Honestly, if I could just hit 170 that'd be great. Further down the wall, Shinso laughed. Oh no. Stay where you are. We love a short king. Okako reached down and ruffled his hair. Aren't you and Todoroki-kun 10 centimeters apart? Yes, Xiaodo said. I'm 176 and he's 166. She grinned exactly. That's the perfect kissing height. Oh, Shoto said, I don't care if you grow taller, Izuku. Any height is the perfect kissing height. Shinsu smirked, what if he gets taller than you? Shoto shrugged, he's the perfect height. At any height. Simp. You say it like I don't know exactly who I am. Shoto cuddled Izuku closer. My bunny is perfect in every way. If he gets taller, that just means there's more bunny to love. Izuku made a few small chirps. Ah, Xiao-chan. Okako and Shinsu both began to make fake gagging noises. Ida only smiled happily, a young love. A wondrous sight. Above them, the first firework shot into the air. It exploded into a bright red ball. The pop was loud. Izuku felt it in his chest. Shoto shivered and pressed closer. It's beautiful, he whispered. But Eureka was right. Another loud firework cracked above them. Shoto made a soft noise in the back of his throat. Too loud? Izuku asked. I can cover your ears. It's fine, Shoto said. We'll bring earplugs next time. Another crack. Yeah. Next time. After the fireworks, the festival was just about over. They bid goodbye to the rest of the squad, and Izuku and Shoto, hand in hand, walked to the truck. Dad had texted him to meet there. I'm glad your dad said you could spend the night, Izuku said. He thinks we're training, Shoto said before he gave a cute sleepy yawn. Izuku swung their joined hands a little as they walked. We'll do some training in the morning. It's leg day tomorrow. Can't ever skip leg day. He looked up at Shoto. Did you have a good time? I did, Shoto said. I'd do this again. It was nice hanging out with our friends. I enjoy it. It's gonna be our everyday once school starts up again. Living in the dorms. Living with you, Izuku grinned. Think our rooms will be close? Oh. What if we have roommates? What if we're roommates? Oh my god, they were roommates, Shoto. He chuckled softly. It's UA. I doubt we'll have roommates. And even if we did, Izuwa knows we're dating. I doubt they'd put us together. Though, as long as we're discreet, I'm not sure if they'd have a problem with us sleeping in the same room from time to time. Izuku grinned. Every night. If we can get away with it. He smirked. At least we have tonight. We keep forgetting to buy another futon. But I think since we've been good, Dad has been cool about us in the same bed. Though I was thinking if I just swallow then no problem, right? Izuku. Shoto mumbled, pink in the face. They were approaching the truck. Dad and Toshinori were leaning on the side of it. They both looked a bit rumpled. Izuku spotted that the last button on his dad's shirt was undone. Weird. But whatever. Hey. Dad called. How was the festival for you guys? Fun. Izuku said. We had a great time. The fireworks were really good. Probably better than the ones near the house. He looked up at his parents. What did you guys end up doing? Toshinori sighed. We got some ice cream, but while eating we were spotted by some paparazzi, so we decided to hang out in the car for a bit. But we had a great view of the fireworks from here. Izuku smiled. I'm glad. His stomach growled. I know we just ate, but we only had mochi, Shoto said. I'm a bit hungry too. Dad sighed. Akira's doesn't close for another hour. He pulled out his phone. If his favorite customers call and place an order right now, I bet he'll be nice and make sure it's hot by the time we get there. I could eat some katsudon right now, Toshinori said. I just wish I knew how he made it so perfect. It has to be some kind of quirk, Hisashi said with a smile. The four of them piled into the truck, before heading to Akira's. Chapter 47, The Class 1A Dorm Room Decorating Contest. Chapter by Roxi2Star. The summer crept on in much the same way. Izuku spent his days training, doing homework, and having fun with his friends. Most days it was common to find at least one member of the Deku squad in his house. Kaken was also a frequent visitor. He'd spent many a day with Izuku at the small gym in the apartment working out together. But today was the big day. Move-in day. The truck was loaded up with his stuff. Dad was helping him move in. Toshinori waved them goodbye as they left for UA. They parked and grabbed as many of Izuku's boxes as they could carry. Izuku had the lion's share, as they made their way to the dorm building. Izuku was standing outside the dorm building. He waved as they approached. Midoriya's, he said to both of them. For a moment, he and Dad said nothing. Izuku looked between them. Finally, Dad smiled. Hey Izuku, he gave him a smile. His teacher didn't smile back but nodded his head. Whatever was going on between them seemed to pass. "You're the third door on the second floor. Between Aoyama and Shinsu," he said and tossed the room key to Izuku. He used pull to let it land on his finger. "We're having an orientation in about a half hour. Meet in the common room then." "Sounds good." Izuku grinned at his teacher as he held the door open for them. Izuku had to bend his knees to get his pile of boxes under the door. They made their way up the steps. It took some fumbling, but they got the room open. "Hey, not a bad space," Dad said, looking around the room. "You even have a balcony," he said, and placed the large pile of boxes on the floor next to the bed. "Want some help unpacking?" Dad asked. "Sure." Izuku smiled and set his own pile down. He pulled the top few boxes off it and found the one he needed. All his boxes were carefully organized. He pulled out yet another new set of bed sheets. He left the All Might ones at the old apartment for Tuya just in case. And it was easier to explain he wanted new sheets that didn't have his dad's boyfriend's face on them than it was to tell him that he gave a wanted criminal the location of where the spare keys to the house were. His new sheets were a sunny yellow. He and his dad worked together to get the sheet on before his dad started unpacking some of his books and loading up the small bookshelf. "So Izu," Dad began. "How have you been? I know you haven't really wanted to talk about." "I'm fine," Izuku said firmly. "I'm totally fine, Dad. I don't need to talk about it. It's over. I can deal with it. Everything is fine now. He's in jail. The others are in shambles. I just want to get my life back on track. I want to focus on being a hero," he said, then looked down at himself. His voice turned quiet. "Not on being a victim." Dad frowned. "Izuku, you can talk about what happened. It will help, I promise." "How can it?" "It doesn't erase what happened," he said. "Besides, it doesn't really bother me that much. Like I said, it's over. I can't change it, and dwelling on it is going to do nothing for me. I just want to let it go and move on and focus on other things." Izuku placed his hands on his hips. "I just want to move forward." Okay. Dad said, "I can't force you. But if you change your mind, I'll have a therapist for you in an instant, okay?" Izuku laughed. "Yeah, sure, Dad. If I need one, I'll say something," he said with a smile. They spent the next half hour unpacking as much as they could. Dad spent the bulk of it putting his clothes away as Izuku pinned up more new posters, and loaded his stationery stuff into his desk. They got through most of the work before it was time for Izuku to head down. "I'm gonna head home. Dad said I'll leave the rest of today for your friends. Classes start tomorrow, so come stop by my office on your way to class, okay?" They left the room, Izuku locking it behind him. "Of course, Dad." He smiled. They made their way down the steps. They stopped at the front door and hugged. "See you tomorrow," he smiled. Dad ruffled his hair. "See you tomorrow, kiddo." With that, Dad left. Izuku smiled and made his way into the common room. Several of his classmates were there waiting already. Kaken and Okako were having a debate on one of the couches. Tsuyu, Mina, and Siro were watching the argument. Ojiro and Hagakure were nearby in the kitchen looking through the pantries together. Yaeorozu and Ida sat across from each other at a table. "Oh, Mido-chan," Mina called. "Good to see you," she cried, crossing over to him. "I haven't seen you since you were still in the hospital." Siro followed behind her. "Yeah man, how was your summer?" "Oh." They were being extra nice to him. Because they felt bad for him. He didn't know how to feel about that. Didn't really matter. It made them feel better to be nice. He could take it. "It was pretty good. I wasn't too busy, just kept up with my training." "Did you guys finish the summer homework?" he asked with a smirk, attempting to take some control back. Both Mina and Siro cringed. "I might have a few more things to do on it," Siro admitted. "Oh hey, look, a distraction. I mean, what's up, Roki?" he said. A warm hand wrapped around Izuku's waist. Shouto had snuck up behind him. "Hello," he greeted before turning his attention down to Izuku, his face softening. "Hi, Bun." Shouto looked a bit sweaty. His hair was up in a small ponytail. He'd clearly been in the middle of some pretty intense physical labor. "Hey there, Tiger," he said, "what's up? You look like you just ran a marathon." He pulled at the slightly damp t-shirt Shouto was wearing. Shouto sighed. "I was doing some mild renovations. If I'm going to be sleeping in there full time, it needs a few changes." I'm not the biggest fan of Western bedrooms. Unless it's yours. I like yours. Mina giggled. Man, you guys are so cute. She pinched Izuku's cheek gently, cooing at the couple. Izuku's entire body froze at the contact. His mind supplied the image of Himiko in his lap, pinching his cheeks. He felt sick. Why was he thinking about that now? What was so different about Mina? Izuku liked Mina. She was a good classmate and friend. He couldn't move. He couldn't breathe. When she let his face go, he exhaled in relief. Izuku entered the common room after the entire class was there. Outside. He ordered, we're gonna have a talk, then I'll show you guys the rest of the dorm. Izuku followed his classmates outside, holding Shouto's hand happily. Once the class was gathered, Izuku turned to them. Todoroki, Bakugo, Yurika, Shinsu, and Ida. Up front please. Shouto let go of Izuku's hand as he and the rest of his friends walked to the front of the group. Izuku's face was stony and unreadable. You five snuck out to save Midoriya, he said. Izuku felt his stomach drop. You went into a combat zone without a license. Todoroki and Ida, you two have already had a strike against you in that regard with the hero killer. The rest of you, aside from Jiro, Hagakure, and of course, Midoriya, knew what they were doing. And none of you stopped them. No one reached out to me, or any pro-hero. You should all be expelled. Shouto and the others hung their heads in defeat. Izuku growled, stepping forward, his finger up and wagging towards Izuku's face. No. Absolutely not. They saved my life. Had they not been there, who knows what would have happened. I'm pretty sure the only reason I'm here is because Shinsu-kun managed to get All for One under his control. He ignored the violent shudder his body gave at the mention of the name. If you're going to expel them, I'm out too. Izuku Shouto started. You can. If you'd let me finish Midoriya, Izuku said with a bored drawl. I said should not are. Izuku let out a breath. Had it not been for All Might's retirement, I would have expelled you all. But, since he's gone, the world is going to need heroes more than ever. However, you're all on thin ice. Make better choices. Understand you aren't pros yet, he rubbed his forehead. That being said, the next thing we're working towards are your provisional licenses. You'll be taking the exam in a few weeks. Your training is only going to get more difficult from here. He suddenly walked towards the dorm building. Now, let's see the dorm. You can all relax now. Izuku was back in his room after the tour. He only had a few more things to get put away. He took stock of his new room. Sunshine yellow bed, blue posters above it. He had at least one All Might poster, a personal favorite from his childhood. The rest were other notable heroes. He had his Plus Ultra body pillow and the All Might eagle. Shouto had one for him during the summer. His final decoration he was working on was a cork board he was pinning photos to. He'd had a bunch of pictures on his phone printed, all his favorites. One of him and Shouto from the summer, wearing the dumb animal ears. The one next to it was the group selfie in front of the castle. He had good pictures of his friends. One of his favorites was a picture of Ida talking with his hands and Shinsu behind him mimicking him. Another was the selfie from the mall trip from the summer with Okako and Kiken, where the three of them got matching piercings. The little green studs on his ears were still healing, but he had plenty of cleaner for them. He had a picture of himself, Dad, and Toshinori. It was an old one, from Izuku's 11th birthday. The first one with Toshinori in their lives. They were at the old bowling alley, all of them smiling and laughing in the picture. He smiled at it fondly. Next to it, he pinned one of him and Mom. In this one he was only 5 or so, wearing his old All Might onesie, and she was smiling brightly. The last picture was a selfie of himself kissing Shouto's cheek. Shouto had been taken off guard in the picture, his face bright pink as Izuku pressed his lips to him. God, he was in love with Shouto. His room was done. May as well go see if Shouto needed help. He pulled out his phone and sent his boyfriend a quick text. After getting his reply, Izuku left his room and made his way to the elevator. It was a shame he and Shouto's rooms were about as far apart as humanly possible. He briefly wondered if that was on purpose. He left the elevator and knocked on Shouto's bedroom door. It only took a moment before the door swung open. Hey, he said, come on in, he invited him. Izuku smiled and followed him into the room before his jaw dropped. Shouto? He asked. The room looked completely different from his own. Tatami mats covered the floors. Even the walls were different. Did you reconstruct the room to be a traditional one? Yes, he said. I just finished that actually. Can you help me unpack? I have to get the furniture back in place and you're stronger than I am. He moved to open some boxes. I even had a floor desk ordered, so that will have to be put together. Oh my god, Xiao-chan, he giggled before grabbing his boyfriend around his waist from behind. He laid his head on his back. How are you the cutest boy in the world? He asked. Xiao sighed, leaning back into his grip. Help me put my room together and then I'm going to kiss you stupid on my new futon. Izuku perked up, kissing his shoulder. Yes sir. He pulled back and got to work. It took them a while, but they managed to get Xiaodo's room together. Xiaodo finished it off by lighting an incense, giving the room the soft smell of sandalwood. Izuku sat himself down on the freshly made futon. I like the flowers, he said, motioning to the small vase full of lavenders. Xiaodo looks over. They were supposed to be for my mom, he said, but I didn't get the chance to visit her this week. I'll make it a point to go on Sunday. I'm glad you guys are talking. Izuku smiled. It makes me happy to see you happy. His boyfriend approached the futon. I do want you to meet her. She's been getting a lot better since I started visiting. Would you want to come and see her soon? He asked. Izuku nodded yes. I'd love to meet your mom. He smiled brightly and used pull to bring Xiaodo down to his knees and wrap him in a hug. I just hope she likes me. Strong arms wrapped around him and they fell back onto the bed together. Of course, she will. I can't think of a single person who doesn't like you, he said and pressed a kiss to his forehead. Even Endeavor. He says he likes your gall, whatever the hell that means. Izuku found himself suddenly caged under Xiaodo now. All of that aside, I believe I said I was going to kiss you stupid. Izuku giggled, his hands moving up to pull the ponytail out of Xiaodo's hair. Why yes, I seem to recall mention of kiss. Knock knock Todoroki. It was Okako's voice. Is Deku in there with you? She asked. Sato and Bakugo just made everyone dinner and after we're gonna have a room decorating competition, so get your asses down to the common room right now. Xiaodo groaned, laying his head on Izuku's chest. I know Tiger. He said softly, but it's Oka. We can't say no to Oka. Xiaodo just groaned again. We're coming, Okako. He called back to her. He lifted Xiaodo's head up and pressed a quick kiss to his lips. Come on. We'll kiss after. Besides, I'm hungry. That convinced him. With a long sigh, he stood up. Fine, he said. They made their way down to the common room. Turned out they had made a huge batch of curry. Sort of reminded Izuku of the training camp. He ignored how the thought of the last thing being in his stomach before he was tortured was curry. So he ate his portion happily. It was delicious. The class filled the dining room tables, and Izuku sat between all his friends. He and Xiaodo even annoyed the others by taking turns feeding each other off their plates. Ashido and Hagekure cooed and awed at them, while Kiken faked barfing into his plate. Once the tables were cleared, and the dishes washed, Ashido took center stage. Okay. This is the start of the official Class 1A dorm room decorating contest. We'll do the boys first, then the girls. She cheered. Then after we'll all vote on who we thought had the coolest room. Kiken scoffed. That's fucking lame. I'm going to bed, he snarled. Afraid you'll lose, Kiken. Izuku challenged. I am too. Xiaodo's room is pretty cool. Fuck you, my room is way better than that, icy hot motherfuckers. Ashido grinned. Perfect. Thanks, Mito-chan. Okay. So boys side first, we'll work our way up, she cried. They all took the steps up to the second floor. First is Tokoyami. Tokoyami stood in front of his door, arms crossed. No, he said simply. You're not seeing my room. Aw, come on. Ashido cried. She and Hagekure pushed him over and forced their way into the room. Oh my god. She cried. It's so goth. The rest of the class crowded inside his room. And it was goth. It looked more like the inside of a Hot Topic than a dorm room. Shinsu whistled, and he and Xiaodo stood by the dresser going through his CD collection. You've got some good taste in music, Yummy, he said. Check it out, Roki, Linkin Park. Now that's a throwback. I never really got to listen to this type of music. My brother Natsuo liked a lot of this stuff when he was in middle school though, Xiaodo said. I always admired the image of gothic rebellion. As I understand, a lot of it is paternal rage. And a bitch can relate, he deadpanned. Izuku giggled, moving to stand closer before his eyes zeroed in on one of Tokoyama's decorations. Whoa, a sword? He asked, moving for a closer look. Get out. Tokoyami cried. The class laughed but they did leave. Next up, Aoyama. Honestly, Izuku didn't know why he expected anything other than the sparkle explosion. It's TRE magnific, no? Aoyama said, giving a twirl. Yeah, this is what I thought it would be. Hagakure said Mido-chan next. Izuku chuckled and unlocked his room as the class gathered around his door. It's nothing special, he said. He felt his cheeks heat up as he opened the door. The girls pushed past him. Oh wow, Deku, you're such a fanboy. Okako said, looking around his poster-covered walls. All Might poster? Deku, you live with him. He blushed. I had that one as a kid. He argued, and besides it's not like he can look like that anymore. People shifted uncomfortably at his words. He couldn't have that, I mean. I had a huge collection growing up, so I had to bring at least a little bit of it with me. It's true, Shoto said, the first time I went to his house I asked if his room was a store. Shoto. Traitor. Yaeorozu had found his corkboard. These pictures are very sweet, she said softly. Oh. She turned to him. Midoriya-kun, is this your mother? She pointed to the picture of him as a toddler with her. He nodded. She's very pretty. And you were such a cute little kid. Wait, I wanna see baby Deku-kun. Okako cried. She and the other girls crowded around the board. Ah! Look at that little man. Now, red in the face, Izuku mumbled. Okay, it's Shinsu-kun's turn, he said. Shinsu shrugged. My room isn't much, he said, but led them to his dorm. It was almost as dark as Tokoyama's room, though it looked less. As much as Izuku hated to use the word, less tacky. Shinsu's aesthetic was a lot more soft. Purple bed sheets, music posters, a scented vanilla candle, and his desk. His desk was clearly a gaming setup. It looked like it was the most expensive thing in the room. Purple lights, a tower desktop computer, and 2 monitors. Headphones with cat ears, glowing keyboard. The works. Oh wow, Hitachi. Kaminari whistled. Nice setup. He shrugged. I've been working on it for a while. Made a lot of progress this summer. Roki took me on a shopping spree. Oh wow. Ashido cried, grabbing one of Shoto's arms. Wanna take me shopping sometime? Hagakure grabbed his other arm. Cute and rich? Mido-chan, you're a lucky guy. She teased. Shoto looked bored, simply giving a yawn. Yeah sure. I don't mind spending money on other people. It's my dad's anyway, I doubt he'll even notice. Oh, we're definitely going to Sephora. Ashido cried and squeezed his arm. Izuku chuckled, looking at the bed. Hey, isn't that Chonko and Fuckass? He asked, pointing to the 2 gigantic stuffed cats. Yep, Shinsu said, popping the pea. I love them more than life itself. Kaminari blushed deep enough that Izuku could see it in the low light. The tour continued. The 3rd floor wasn't too exciting other than 2 rooms. Ida's glasses collection. Okako, Shinsu, and Izuku all made fun of him, but it was ultimately pretty endearing. Never change Ida. And of course, Koda's pet rabbit. Ah! Okako cooed, gently petting his ears. Bunnies are so cute. The rest of the girls crowded around the fluffy creature. Shoto joined them, a soft smile playing on his lips. Izuku leaned on his knees watching them. He felt solidarity with the rabbit. Look, Bun, Shoto said, looking over his shoulder at him. It's you. It me, he joked. They didn't linger in the room long before they left for the next floor. The 4th floor started with Kiken's room. Kiken suddenly seemed to realize in order to win the dorm room competition he'd have to let people see his room. I changed my mind. None of you are allowed in there, he said, and much like Tokoyami had, he stood in front of his door. I'm out. Izuku rolled his eyes and simply walked up to him and pinched his side. Move it, Kiken, I've seen your room at home. I know your secrets. He cried. Kiken was laughing so hard that it was easy to move him out of the way. He ripped the door open. Yeah, that's about what I thought. Oh my god. Someone, probably Ashido, cried. Kiken's room was about as dorky as his own. All Might, Best Jeanist and a smattering of other heroes merch covered the walls. Ashido squealed. Oh my god, Bakugo, are all these manga romances? She asked, kneeling down in front of his short bookshelf. That's so cute. Shut up. He cried, pink in the face. Shoto stood near the desk and picked up one of the small frames. Oh wow, he said and showed Izuku the picture. It was one of him and Kikin at their middle school graduation. They both smiled at the picture taker. Though perhaps Kikin was more smirking. Izuku still had his long messy hair. I didn't know you used to wear your hair longer. Oh yeah. Izuku smiled. I cut it before high school. It used to get so gross and sweaty. It was sweet that Kikin had the picture on his desk. A soft warmth settled in his stomach. Kikin snatched the picture from them out of my room. He finally yelled and began to push them all out. Kirishima's room was pretty much what Izuku expected. A den of manliness. Shaoji was a bit more surprising, as it turns out he was a minimalist. Izuku could never. He'd always had hoarding tendencies. Merch, figures, notebooks, quirks. Even his friends. Once someone had endeared themselves to him, it was game over. The 5th floor was pretty interesting. Siro, as it turned out, had a great sense of style. Very exotic. The girls all seemed to like it. Sato's room itself wasn't too exciting other than the cake he'd baked. It was very good. Izuku and Shoto had shared a slice together. The real winner of the 5th floor was Shoto himself. Dude, what the hell? Kaminari asked as the class looked around his traditional room. The incense had gone out. Did you remodel this entire room? Shoto nodded. I like the tatami mats. We have them at my house, he said, plus futons are much more comfortable than Western beds. Storing them is easier, so I could have a larger one without it taking up a lot of space for working out and yoga. Yeah, but how the hell did you get all this done in one day? Kaminari asked. Izuku helped me. Of course. Power couple. They finished the girls' rooms. The funniest part had been Yayoro's massive bed in her tiny room, and Okako's rather messy and bare room. Shoto had offered to take her shopping as well. They did the final vote, and in the end, Sato won by virtue of cake. Izuku couldn't say he disagreed. Shoto yawned, curling his arms around Izuku's waist. Can we go to bed now? He asked softly. Just brush your teeth. Ida said, since you had cake. Actually. Okako said softly, Tsuyu-chan texted me. She wants to meet us outside. Us, Shinsu-kun and Bakuga-kun. Kikin, who had been wandering to the elevator, bristled at. The hell does she want? He asked. Okako shrugged. She didn't say. But it sounds important, she said. Let's just go meet her outside, and then we can go to bed. They all nodded and walked together. Tsuyu was standing out front in her pajamas waiting for them. She seemed sad. Her eyes met Izuku's. Oh. You brought Midoriya-chan too, she said softly. Izuku then realized she had asked the rescue party to come out here. I can leave if you want. He offered. No, Kuro. It's okay, she said. They gathered around her. So, you guys know I'm a pretty straightforward person, Kuro. They all nodded. Well. I've been sitting on this since you all went to save Midoriya-chan. Izuku felt his blood run cold. He didn't want to talk about this. Well, Kuro, you all broke the rules. I know you were just worried about your friend, but it was very dangerous what you did. You were all there when that awful fight happened and Midoriya-chan went through something awful. And today tears gathered in her massive eyes. Everyone has just been pretending like nothing is wrong, Kuro. She began crying in earnest. I just don't understand how you can when you all went through that. Oh, Sue. Okako said softly, and wrapped her friend in a hug. We're not, it's. Shinsu and Ida both frowned, moving closer to her as well. Because we have to, Kikin said, crossing his arms. We're not ignoring it, we're coping, he continued. We're also respecting Deku. Every time we bring it up, it upsets him. He's the one who suffered. He'll talk about it in his own time. In the meantime, it's a fake it, till you make it situation. Izuku needs normalcy. We all need normalcy. Izuku was crying. Not his normal ugly sobbing, but he felt tears streaming down his cheeks. He didn't want to talk about this anymore. But him not talking about it was hurting people. Had other people been wanting to talk about it? Did Shoto or Kikin have feelings they needed to express but simply weren't because he was upset? Shoto wrapped an arm around his waist. We're going to take this at his pace. We only saw a fraction of what he went through. Shoto's voice was soft. We're sorry if we seem like we're not taking this seriously, but I promise, I doubt anyone is taking it more seriously than us. Shinsu nodded. There's a lot of good reasons we haven't talked about it, he said. It was scary. It was painful. watching our friends and teachers fighting for their lives when there was nothing we could do. His voice was soft, putting that monster under my quirk really sucked. He was a lot more mentally powerful than anyone I've ever controlled before. It hurt to do it. But I had to. Ida sighed. Tsuyu, I understand your feelings. I feel much the same way if I'm being honest. I bottled up my feelings after my brother was paralyzed. I do think we need to talk about it. I've been speaking to my therapist about it in most of our sessions. I also know that I cannot force Midoriya-kun to open up when he's not ready. His trauma is probably far deeper than we realize. He sighed deeply. He's the only one who can decide if this is something he's ready to speak about yet. Deku, Okako began quietly. You know we're here for you, right? She asked. Izuku nodded. I know. Of course, I know, he said softly. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to think about it. It was so awful. I just want to move on. Talking about it won't make it go away, he said softly. Please can't we just be happy and get back to work? Tsuyu looked up. Midoriya-chan. You might feel better if you talk about what happened. I'm not ready, he said firmly. Shadow pulled him closer to his chest. If he's not ready, we can't force him. But please, I promise we're not being insensitive. We're trying to do what's best for Izuku right now. Please respect Izuku's process. Tsuyu frowned. But, she nodded. Okay. I'll let this go. Since it seems Midoriya-chan wants to move on for now. I'm sorry for bringing it up, but it seemed like something we had to address. She approached Midoriya-chan. I'm sorry. He nodded and reached out, bringing her small frame in for a hug. It's okay, Tsuyu-chan, he said softly. I promise. I'll talk about it someday, but I can't right now. Her arms wrapped around his waist, and they both cried. Though, he had to admit that being here with her, holding her like this, it made him feel closer to Tsuyu. And someday, he would talk about it. Just, not yet. Izuku was lying on Shado's futon. Perhaps on his first night here, he should be sleeping in his own dorm room. But he just couldn't bear to be alone right now. He could tell by the way Shadow pulled him close in the bed that he wasn't keen on letting him be alone either. They lay together, spooning on the futon. The light in the room is low. Neither of them were talking. Just listening to the sound of the other breathing. Izuku's phone buzzed in the bed. He lifted his head up to check. Oh my god. Izuku whispered, sitting up straight. Shadow, it's Tuya, he said. Shadow sat up and leaned over his shoulder as Izuku opened the message. Hey baby girl, can we meet at your place on Sunday? Daddy wants to give you something. Can you come alone? Don't want to make your parents suspicious since you're sneaking around with an older guy. Let me know. 3. Did he text the wrong person? Shadow asked. No. Izuku said. I bet he's texting in code. He's living with the League full-time. They're a nosy bunch. This is probably in case they find his phone. He's got information for me, but he wants me to come by myself. Probably to be more discreet. He said my place, so he wants to meet me at my mom's apartment. Shadow nods. That makes sense. Will you be okay going alone? He asked. I trust him, he said. If he wanted to kill me, he wouldn't have saved me and my dad's lives. He would have killed us at your place. He looked up at Shadow. I'll pretend I'm going with you to the hospital on Sunday. Then I'll just take the train to my old place. See what he wants. He began to draft up a response. Okay, Daddy. I can't wait to get my prize. I've been a very good girl. I'll have to sneak away, so I'll text you if I can't make it. See you then. 3. There, Izuku said and hit send. Looks like I'm seeing your brother this weekend. Alright, that's where we'll leave off for the day. Thanks so much for listening along with me today. If you enjoyed, please like and comment down below and check out the video or playlist on the screen for more content from me. I look forward to seeing you next time. Ciao for now, lovelies.